Can you beat Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn using only women? I found a Reddit post doing the same challenge, but they broke the rules on a few chapters, like Chapter 1, Part 1. There's also a YouTube channel who completed this challenge, but neither of these brave souls attempted this awful challenge on hard mode. So I'll be putting myself through the torture of doing this woman-only run on hard mode, meaning less XP, stronger and more enemies, and lastly, no checking enemy unit ranges. However, because of how Radiant Dawn is built, this challenge becomes a bit tricky. For example, in the second battle in the tower, Ike is forced to beat the chapter boss. So, we'll need to set up a few rules. Rule number 1, I can only use women for combat. Rule number 2, hard mode only. Rule number 3, force deployed units must be kept out of enemy ranges. Rule number 4, if a chapter truly is impossible to do with only women, I will allow some men to be used as a meat shield. However, I will try my damnedest to do the chapter and only use men as a last resort. Now, to start the challenge, the first and only woman available for the first few chapters is Micaiah, and
Ooh boy.
she's just a walking game over machine. She's a light mage with low defense and HP and will always get one shot. She has mediocre speed, but at least she has high magic growth at 80%. Although she becomes somewhat strong late game, early game she's extremely vulnerable and should be kept in the back lines. But that being said, she's the only woman so far at her disposal, so she'd have to go get in there. The first guy tries talking smack, but forgets he's a low-level bandit in the first level of a Fire Emblem game, so we can easily deal with him in free attacks, without fear of Micaiah being sent to the afterlife. We do have to heal in between turns, because she can take 2 attacks, so that brings us to our first problem. After the first bandit dies, the second guy standing in line to get a piece of Micaiah will always attack her once he can. This is obviously a problem because she's made out of tissue, and will die if she is attacked twice in a row. So, all we have to do is hope that she dodges at least one attack. But of course she doesn't, because this is Micaiah. Our first but not last game over screen. Better get used to this screen, because we'll be seeing it a lot. The second attempt goes smoothly, with Micaiah dodging the killing blow. Thereafter, the 3rd Dawn Brigade unit, Leonardo, joins alongside Edward. But because he's a boy, he's going to have to sit at the back and contemplate his lack of double X chromosomes. He is carrying an incredibly useful item though, the Draco Shield. This item will be used on Micaiah, giving her a much needed +2 defense. Now that he is dead, the rest of the level should be pretty easy. We just move in, luring one enemy at a time, killing them one by one. We stop here to use the Draco Shield that Leonardo was carrying, giving Micaiah a slightly bigger chance of not crumbling at the sight of enemies. With Micaiah's first level up, she gains magic, luck and resistance, a pretty basic level up, with what you expect from her growth rates. Something I did notice that might be a problem later on is her weapon durability. For some reason, magic books can break after too much use, presumably because Micaiah is tearing out the pages in frustration over her lack of damage. You can only start buying her new tomes in Chapter 1-4, but you do get the Fanny tome on Chapter 1-2 in a chest, so I decided to not worry about durability too much. For her second level, she got skill, luck, speed and resistance, better level up than the previous one. Speed is by far the most important stat for her, and although she didn't get magic, she still has a lot of levels to grow, so I'm not bothered. All that's left now is the boss Pugo. Pretty weird name, feel bad for the guy, but we're going to have to kill him to progress. We place Micaiah in his range and end our turn. I honestly expected more from the first chapter, but we managed to clear it in our second attempt. It's time to introduce everyone's favorite gameplay element, RNG. Micaiah will always have a highly unlikely chance of dodging Pugo's attack, so we'll need to think of a different method of survival. Luckily, she was just barely one-shot, so we'll need to rely on level up RNG. She needs to gain at least 1 HP or defense, and that coupled with the Draco Shield should make her barely survive on 1 HP. Her following attempt, for her first level she gets the exact same level as last time. And the second level, she still didn't gain any defense or HP, so you know what that means. Attempt 4, she managed to level strength, but no HP or defense. And while I was prepping the news, it finally happened. We finally have the stats to fight Pugo without the threat of being eviscerated. She barely survives on 1 HP, and after 3 game overs, delivered the killing blow to Pugo, gaining an amazing level up for our efforts. And that concludes Chapter 1 Prologue of the Woman Only run. It wasn't that bad in the end, so I'm sure the rest of this challenge will be a breeze, with no difficulty whatsoever.